Well, I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be watching this, um, but there is help. You can stop, you can quit. My name is James Avant, but I've got a nickname, Buckshot. And I'll tell you how I got that nickname. I was premature when I was born, didn't weigh but 2 pounds and 4 ounces. And they say the first words out of my daddy's mouth was, "He ain't no bigger than a buckshot." So I was Buckshot from then on. So I was raised in Walterboro, the lower part of the state. And just a regular family. My daddy was a bricklayer, and just a good family. I lost my daddy when I was 17 years old. He died when I was 17 years old, and my mama just a few years later. Got married young. And
how or under what circumstances did you begin using, and what was your drug of choice?
Well, I began using as a teenager. I think first time my drug of choice was beer. That was what I remember the first beer I ever drank. Kind of after my daddy passed away, I kind of just went downhill. My daddy was a good man, brought me up in church, was the boss of the house, and when he passed away, I just kind of went crazy, went wild, and I remember my first beer, and I remember how it made me feel, and I made people laugh, and I kind of liked it, and from then on, it was just a weekend thing. Just on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, I would drink beer, party, just like a regular teenager at that time. I was 16, 17 years old.
How did your use progress?
Well, it just progressed slowly. At first, it was just a weekend thing, and I guess I did that probably 4 or 5 years, and then we moved up to Pickens County, and I got a job. I was a brick mason at the time, and I got a job with a brick mason, and he drank, and we would stop in the afternoons and get a 6-pack, and it just progressed to that. My wife worked the second shift. We got married, and she worked the second shift, and I worked the first shift, and at that time I had 2 boys, 2 babies. One of them was in diapers, and one of them was just barely crawling, and I worked the second shift, and by the time I got home, my wife was at work, and it seemed like that if I had a couple of beers, I can handle things better. That's what my mind was telling me, and it progressed. I just started drinking a little bit more and a little bit more, and just progressed from there.
Why do you believe people with substance use disorder keep using drugs?
Because it's addicting, for one thing. I liked how it made me feel. I could handle things better. I thought when I was drinking, just like with my children, it kind of calmed my nerves, and I could handle my children better. I thought. In reality, I wasn't. But I think it's the addiction part in it. It makes you want it more and more.
When did you know that you had to stop using?
Well, I knew a long time before I stopped, because I knew I had a problem when I would start drinking early in the morning. I'd always, like most people, get up and drink a cup of coffee. I would get up and go get a Budweiser just to feel normal, just to make myself feel like I could handle the day. And I drank one before I went to work. I was still a brick mason. I drank one before I went to work. At dinner time, I'd go to the store and I'd get another one. And at afternoon, it started off with a 6-pack, and then it led to a 12-pack, and it was just an everyday thing. And I knew that I had a problem, and I even tried to quit a couple of times. I remember getting pulled one night. I didn't go to jail. I wasn't drinking enough for DUI, but I was drinking. I had an open container, and I realized that I didn't want to be this kind of person. And I remember going home that night and saying, I'm gonna lay this down. I'm gonna quit. or every time I'd get sick, I'd say, God, if you'll get me through this, I'll lay it down. But I think this was the turning point in my life, is my boys were growing a little bit. They were getting a little bit older, and I was drinking a little bit more. And I'll never forget, I was sitting around my kitchen table one night with my family. My wife was there, my 2 boys, and my oldest boy was in 1st grade, and he went to Dacusville. And we were just sitting around the table, and we was eating pizza, and I was drinking a Budweiser. And I asked my boys what they learned at school, and I'll never forget what my oldest son said. He said, we had a policeman, it was a deputy sheriff, that came to school that day and talked about drugs. And that made a daddy happy. I said, well, that's awesome. What all did he talk about? And then he told me about the things, how bad drugs were and all that kind of stuff. And then we finished, I kept on eating, and then he said something that really got me. He said, Daddy, guess what I did today? And I said, what? And he said, I told my teacher that you do drugs. And this is a 1st grader. And I said, what? He said, I told my teacher that you did drugs. I said, Bradley, I don't do drugs. I drank beer, but I wasn't considering that a drug. He said, this is what he said, my teacher says that alcohol is a drug. And that's when it hit me. I knew right then, that I felt something right then that I hadn't ever felt before, and I guess it was conviction. I didn't feel like I was being a good daddy, and that was the moment that I knew that I had a problem and that I had to do something about it.
What would you like the community to know about substance use disorders?
It's nothing good. It's just like, just in mine, I say this all the time, I was just an alcoholic. I know that's just as bad as anything, but I didn't want my children to grow up knowing that their daddy was an alcoholic. I'm good friends with a man right now that's got a son that's addicted to drugs, and I see the hurt in their life as they just try to help him, and he doesn't want to help himself, and it'll bring you down. I've seen it so many times. I've been in the ministry now for about 20 years, and I've seen people just go downhill. I had a nephew that took his life because he was an alcoholic and he couldn't stop. And it's just a terrible disease, and I just hate it.
For those who are struggling with a substance use disorder, what would you like them to know about seeking treatment and or recovery?
I'd like for them to know there is a way out. I mean, for everybody, there's a different way, but there is. You can get through it. You can get help, and you can do it. I look at myself. I was an alcoholic. I was a functioning alcoholic. I didn't live out on the street or anything, but I drank beer every day of my life, every day. And there is a way out, because I told the story about my son telling me that he told his teacher that I did drugs. Well, that was the day that I went and did something that I hadn't done in a long time, and that was I reached out to a higher power. I got up from the table that day and went into my little pantry. I was living in a little apartment right here in Pickens, and I went in my pantry and I got down on my knees, and I hadn't prayed in years, and I just said, Lord, if you're real, I need help. And that's what helped me was reaching out to the Lord. And I'll tell you this, and this is how he helped me. I know he helps people in different ways. Some people have to go the different places to get help, but this is what happened to me. I reached out and said, Lord, if you're real, I need help. And it wasn't but about a week after that somebody knocked on my door and invited my children to Vacation Bible School. And I didn't know this woman, and I didn't go to church. I'd never been to church. I didn't know this woman. It was a little preacher's wife, and she invited my children to Vacation Bible School. And then she said this. She said, not only do I want to invite your children to Vacation Bible School, but I would love for you to come over to my house tonight. She said, we having a group of people to come over to my house tonight and cook hamburgers, and we would love for y'all to come. I would have never done anything like that. It just wasn't in me to do anything like that. But something made me go that night. And I took my children, and I met people with children my age, and I said to myself, I want what they got. Whatever this group is, I want to be a part of it. And I got involved in that church. It was just a small church, and they had small groups, and I got involved in that, and they knew my testimony, they knew my history, and I met people that went through the same thing, and they helped me. That's how I got out of it. But you need help. I mean, you need people. You can't just do it on your own. I don't think you need help.
For you personally, what has been the most challenging aspects in trying to remain substance free?
Well, there for a long time, it don't bother me as much now, but there for a long time, I quit when I was 27 years old. I'm 58 now, but there for a long time, I craved it every day. I still do from time to time, but I had to quit associating with the same people that I was associating with. Or if I didn't, I would have fell right back into it. I had to find a whole new group of friends. I was still a bricklayer at the time, and all my brick mason buddies, that's what they did when they got off work, was to go somewhere and grab a beer before they went home. I had to, we used to all ride together. I had to quit riding with them. I just had to choose my friends different, and not go out to the same places, not hang out at the same places. And that's what I did. I think that's what so many people mess up, is they go and get help, and then they go right back in the same situation and with the same people. And you gotta get yourself away from your old buddies.
This next question is two parts. How have people helped you along the way? And how have well-meaning people hindered you in your progress?
Well, people's helped me along the way. I've got good friends to this day that I go to when I need help or when I need somebody to talk to. I've got friends today that I go to, and I keep my relationship with the Lord. I pray every day. Just things like that. What was the second question?
How have well-meaning people hindered you in your progress?
Well, a lot of people hindered me in my progress because I've got people in my family that they drink, and they think it's nothing wrong with it, and they make fun of me when I can't. And I tell them, I don't understand it. I don't know why some people can drink a mixed drink at work or at supper and it not bother them. And if I was to do it, I would be addicted. I don't understand the addiction part of it. I don't know why some people can be addicted and why some people are not. But I've had a lot of people that hindered my progress. It's like I said earlier, sometimes you have to stay away from the people that try to hinder you.
How did your life look on the outside versus how it looked on the inside when you were struggling the most?
Well, I fooled a lot of people. A lot of people didn't know that I had a problem. A lot of people knew that I partied and I drank. I didn't try to hide it from people, but I looked the same on the outside. I mean, like I said earlier, I was a functioning alcoholic. I drank every day, but I worked every day. I come home every day. I raised my boys. I thought I was doing a good job raising my boys, but on the inside, it was killing me because I knew, I felt that guilt. I knew that I was doing something wrong, and I knew that it was hurting me in the long run. And it's just not a good feeling.
What strategies do you use every day to refrain from returning to use?
I stay away from places that sell alcohol. I mean, not 100%, but I don't go to bars. I don't hang out with people that use alcohol. I have to stay away from people like that. And I have a personal relationship with the Lord, and I ask for help every day. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is say, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving me another day to live, and I can't do this by myself. I need you. I need you to help me, and He's always been there to help me.
If you are or were involved in a recovery support group, what was it and how did it help you?
Well, I didn't go to a recovery. My recovery was my church, the friends that I met in church that had gone through similar, things, that had gone through problems just like, and they're out there. I mean, there's people out there anywhere that go through things like that, and you just have to find the right people to associate yourself around. I look at my life. I quit school in the 11th grade to go to work with my brothers laying brick. And I thought that's what I was going to do the rest of my life, was to be a brick mason. Well, when I quit drinking, God called me into ministry. And here I was, a high school dropout, and I kept saying, God, how could you use somebody like me? How can you call somebody like me into the ministry? Don't even have a high school dropout. And I run and I run and I run from the Lord. And when I felt like that I couldn't run anymore, I surrendered. And I just look at myself. At one time I was a high school dropout. I felt like a nobody. I was an alcoholic. That made me feel like a nobody when I look back at my past. And then I think about how the Lord called me into the ministry. And when I surrendered to the ministry, how I went back and got my high school education, and then went on to college and got a 4-year degree. And I couldn't have done that without the support of people supporting me. My church family, my closest friends helped me. They supported me. My wife supported me. And the Lord helped me. And I say this, if I can do it, if I can quit, and if I can turn my life around from being a high school dropout to now a preacher, anybody can do it. You just got to put your mind to it. You got to want it, and you got to be the one that has to make the choice.
What was the hardest part about stopping? And was there a time when you wanted to quit but you couldn't, or you didn't know how?
It was hard to quit. I kept saying that I was going to quit. I said it every day. Every morning when I woke up, I would say, I'm not going to drink today, but the first thing I would do was stop at a store and get a beer. I think the hardest part was, to me, was the feeling that you just did not feel right. I don't even know how to explain it, but I would try to quit, and there was just something in me that I would start shaking, and it just didn't feel normal. Didn't feel right until I got that drink. And then as soon as I got my little fix, then I felt normal again. And the hardest part for me was getting past that. Once I got past that, and it took months to get past that, but once I got past that, I'd wake up in the morning and wait for my head to start hurting, and my head didn't hurt. And it was just the weirdest feeling in the world to not have a hangover when you woke up in the morning. And it's tough, it's hard, but you can do it with help, with people, and with the good Lord, you can do it.
If someone loves someone with a substance use disorder, what should they do to help them?
Well, I think if you love somebody that's addicted to something, you should do everything in your power to help them. I mean, you can't give up on people because people can change. And I think you do everything in your power. You try to get them help. You pray for them. You're there for them. But in reality, I think they're the ones that need to make that choice to get help. You can't help somebody that don't want to help themselves, and they gotta want to help first before it'll actually come.
How is your life different now?
It's 100% different. I think back at my life, and it don't even seem like the same person. I mean, I can't imagine now getting up in the morning and going to the store and buying a Budweiser and drinking before I go to work. I think back in my life, and I just don't. It's like two different people. I mean, now I try my best to help people, and I have since I've been in the ministry. I try to help people that's had problems, and it's just altogether different in the world. It's the biggest difference in the world. I don't even know how to explain it, but you feel so much better inside. You're who the Lord made you to be, and yeah, I think the Lord's got a plan for every person out there. The Lord's got a plan for his life, and it's our choice whether we do what he wants us to do or what God's made us to do. It's our choice whether we want to do it or not, and it all boils down to choices, the choices that we make. We can choose to live that way, or we can say, hey, I'm tired of living like this, and there's got to be a better road. There's got to be a better place. There's a better way.
You've answered all our questions, but is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be watching this, but there is help. You can stop. You can quit. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world to do, but there is plenty of help. You're at a good place right now. If you're watching this, you're at a good place for help. But there's people out there that's went through the same struggles that you're going through. And I just keep thinking to myself, if I can change, if I can do it, anybody in the world can do it. You just gotta want to. And I did it for my children. I didn't want my children to grow up, number one, not having a daddy, because if I'd have kept on the way I was going, I probably wouldn't be here right now. And I didn't want them growing up thinking that they had an alcoholic for their daddy. I just wanted to be a better person and be all that God wanted me to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.